All right, everyone. Thank you for joining the Campfire show from New Camp. I am Ludo Farage, your host. And today I have the immense pleasure to host Terence Green, who's with us here coming from Texas. Hi, Terence. How are you?
Doing
And
good,
Clint
feeling great.
Richards.
Say
Yeah.
again.
And Clint Richards. Yeah, we're going to have to work on that synchronization here. That's okay. We'll be doing that more during this hour. And Clint Richards, Clint, you're joining us from where exactly?
Nebraska. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. And so that's the very first time for us to have two guests on the show. And I know you both have really interesting and inspiring stories. Um, would you mind introducing yourself really quick? Let's start with Terence, like a few words about yourself, and then same from Clint, and we'll get going after that.
Absolutely. Well, like Ludo said, my name is Terence Green. I'm in San Antonio, Texas. I've worked as a new camp instructor over the last year, and I specialize in data analytics and Python. And that's nice to meet you all.
All
How
right.
about
And
you?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, we are gonna have to work on that. Um, but yeah, I'm Clint. I guess I just finished. I think, like you said, I just finished the back end course. And I just made my first kind of step into an actual IT related job. I'm working as a help desk engineer at a large retail or realty company here in the Midwest. So yeah,
Oh,
it's
so
been
you
great.
just completed and you got a job in tech
Yep.
as you were studying. Well, we're gonna get into that. So again, it's a real pleasure. We're gonna talk about this. How you actually, why did you come together? We're going to cover that. I want to tell everyone who's watching. So you're probably watching either on YouTube, on Facebook, or on LinkedIn. You should feel totally free to ask your questions. Ask a question to me if you want, or to Terence, who's an instructor, or to Clint, who just completed the backend with Python bootcamp. So ask any question. We're going to see them here, and we'll answer them as they come. You can also, if you want, if you feel that you actually want to join us on the floor, meaning with your camera on, with your mic on, you can actually follow this link, dial in, and we'll actually bring you in and have a conversation with you. It's best if you have a question that you want to ask or just share something with us, and we'll bring you in. All right, so let's get started. So, Terence and Clint, how did you two meet?
right, and so in the new camp curriculum, I try and offer office hours each and every day of the week. I want to make sure I'm available for each and every student. And one of the things that really stood out to me was that Clint was always showing up to office hours, even if it was after he got out of work. He was tired. Him and his brother were just there and collaborating and talking code, and it wasn't always about just building knowledge. It was about just talking and talking code and talking about breaking into tech, and that's something that really just stood out to me, and I really was glad to see that, because many students, they join the program, and I feel like they don't take full advantage of the teachers we have available. We have super talented people that we work that I get a chance to be an instructor with, and so I was just glad to see him showing up to office hours, and that was just really awesome.
Great. So actually, so you were a teacher for Clint for the first boot camp. And so, Clint, how was it actually to be a student of Terence during that time?
He was awesome. He's actually been one of the most proactive teachers that I've had so far. He like the office hours on top of that, if I had a question like a pressing matter and I hadn't got my workshop like to work yet, he was on it and he would always message back and we worked through stuff. It was awesome. But yeah, like you said, me and my brother, we were working on a bunch of stuff together, and uh, like we tried to always be there, whether it was talking through the workshop or talking about AWS certificates and how to get into tech, and just the opportunities that are open when you start learning the field. it was a lot of great information. I do honestly think that it helped get even the job that
Yeah.
I have.
No, and I have to say, so Terence, not to throw flowers at you, but I looked up your profile, and I think this is something I've never seen, to be honest with you. So you've taught, so you're super focused on the back end, and we'll talk about your background. You're very much back end oriented, cloud. You've taught the Python fundamental class 6 times already. You have 253 student feedback, and your average rating is just out of this world, 4.93 out of 5. Out of 253 ratings, 4.93. It's
Yeah.
just mind blowing. So congratulations. And I understand. I mean, doing the office hours and having students really benefit from that is a big part of it. And we were discussing right before, I often tell people and students or whoever is actually trying to get into tech, a big part of it is showing up. A big part of it is, differentiating yourself and being remembered for something. And a
Right.
simple fact that, not every student shows up for office hours. But if you do, you're going to first learn more for it because your instructor is going to be there for you. And there's not going to be a lot of students. But then, just like in this case, Terence, you remember Clint, you remember him for being there, for being tenacious. And so opportunities just appear because of that. And so I will always recommend, to find any outlet possible to just show up and show your commitment because, it's going to come back to help you in the future. So one of the reasons why we have this show is we want to hear your stories. And so I really want to hear both your stories. Terence, how did you get into tech? And then Clint, why did you choose to actually get into tech and what were you doing before? But let's start actually with you, Terence. And we'll also get your questions. I see a question here from a LinkedIn user. We'll get that actually in a few minutes. I want to start with you, Terence. So would you mind telling us a little bit about your journey? And maybe before actually you got into tech, like did you have another profession? Did you have another job? What was your beginnings, I guess, before you got into tech?
Absolutely. And so a couple of years ago, well, all throughout college, I worked as a manager for Walmart. And so I worked in retail management. I actually have a master's degree in business administration. So I have my MBA. And I got to a point where I just sort of felt lost as far as my career progression and what I was doing. And so it came to a point where, because I have an older brother and he's into coding, and I just admired what he was doing, right? He was working from home, making great income, living the life, just doing his thing. And I saw that, and I was like, maybe I can do that, because, and I just thought that maybe I didn't have the aptitude for it. I really honestly thought that this wasn't for me because, and Clint, you probably remember this story, but the very first time I tried coding, I tried to print "Hello World" and I gave up. And that's not
Oh,
even
really? Man, yeah, that's rough. Usually people go beyond that step and that kind of yeah, but oh wow. Yeah. When that means that there's hope, right? Even if you fail at print hello, there's hope. So how
it
long
was.
ago was that, Terence? When did you actually start to look into that?
I want to say that was 2018, 2019. Um,
So not too long ago.
yeah, not very long ago. And so like
Right.
I'm thinking 2018, and
Yeah.
I tried it out and I gave up. And so then I kept on working for Walmart, and I didn't really enjoy it there. And nothing against them, they took care of me or whatever, but I wasn't really happy. And so I tried again a year later, and then I actually tried to focus, and I started picking up steam, and I was learning JavaScript, and I started to really think like, I enjoy this. I really like figuring out these problems. And I was like, maybe I can do this. And so, but I knew I needed like an edge to kind of break into tech. And so I started looking for boot camps because I heard about the boot camps and I heard about things that are out there. And at the time I was working for my MBA, I was working full time. So I had a full time job as a data analyst. By this time I had transitioned from Walmart. And I looked for a boot camp, and then my first web fundamentals class started in December of 2019,
Okay.
and I hit the ground running from there. Got picked up by a company called Reviture after being interviewed there.
Yeah.
Spent a short stint there, and then I spent the next summer because the pandemic hit, right?
Yeah,
2020.
exactly. Yeah. right before.
It was layoffs left and right, and I just spent the summer, the whole next 3 or 6 months doing freelancing, little tiny projects here and there,
Mhm.
building up my portfolio, and just grinding, just working hard, and staying focused, so now I currently work for the government. I work for the Texas State Education Agency as a
That's
data analyst, and I write Python code nearly every single day, writing for automation, for data cleaning, data transformation, and that's really what I'm passionate about. So.
Yeah, no, that's huge. We'll talk about your certifications as well. I mean, I mean, your LinkedIn profile is pretty impressive. But before we do that, Clint, how about you? What were you doing before you joined New Camp and you started to look into a job in tech? What was your profession before that?
So I was, I guess, kind of just working a factory life from basically 2016 up until 2 months ago. I did switch factories. I recently, I guess, moved my family and I from a small town here in Nebraska to a much larger town, Omaha. Um, and I guess initially I had no idea what I was going to do after getting out of high school. I just kind of went through a period where I worked a job that paid good enough, and I guess didn't require that many skills, and was entry level.
Hmm.
And I actually I didn't mind it. I had a lot of people that I really enjoyed and looked up to there. And then I kind of just at some point realized that uh, I became a father in 2017.
Congratulations.
So I thank you, and so I kind of I started at that point looking for something a little bigger, uh, a little wider, I guess, of a something to bridge the gap between, um, I guess, gaining freedom financially and where I work from, that kind of thing. I would love to, I guess, full time work from home, and uh, I guess at some point, like I said, I just kind of realized I looked at my father in law, who does full time software development, and he is a genius. So up until
He's
recently,
listening to us.
yeah, up until recently, I thought it was above and beyond anything I could handle. And I actually, a couple of years ago, I think it would have been 2019. I joined a different boot camp. I won't mention who,
Oh,
but I joined a boot camp, and it didn't fit. It was a lot more open ended. It was a lot of holding myself accountable and responsible for getting stuff done, and I just didn't do very well. And then I found New Camp. Me and my brother actually found that together. I kind of presented it to him like, hey, we can both do this. And I decided um, toward the end of last year to just kind of jump in and give it a chance. And I started with the fundamentals. I really, really enjoyed how the class was set up. And then I jumped into Python with Terence, and then finished the back end stuff here just recently. So
that's really awesome. So it's a kind of a 6 months journey. Did you do any self-taught, self-teaching before that, or did you just? I mean, I guess you joined another boot camp, so you must have dabbled into the code, right? For you to
yeah,
learn. Yeah.
yeah. I mostly dabbled in the other boot camp focused on Ruby.
Oh, I see.
I actually really enjoyed most of it. Some of
Mhm.
it was a little bit more painful for me than Python, but uh, it's definitely an interesting language. I would definitely go back and try to learn it now that I have Python a little more under my belt.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So let's actually we'll continue on this conversation. I want to just get a chance since you've actually attended the Web Development Fundamentals Bootcamp. There's a question here um, from a LinkedIn user. I'm finding it difficult to find a tech career, even after completing Newcamp's Web Development Fundamentals program. Most positions require many years of experience. How do we overcome this? I don't have I have an answer in mind, but I was curious, Clint, what would you respond to this?
As far as the requirements, um, I kind of just had to teach myself how to put those a little bit more out of mind
Hmm.
and focus on the requirements of what you can do over the requirements of how long you've been doing it.
Yeah.
So, and something that my current boss actually told me is that uh, 90% of it is uh, presentability, and then 10% of it is confidence,
Hmm.
and that'll get you at least in the door. And then you just kind of have to maintain that confidence that you can learn what's expected of you. So,
Yeah. That is very true. I will also add that um, completing the 4 weeks bootcamp, the web development fundamentals, really is just about giving you the fundamentals. It will be normal to feel like you don't have everything you need to know to get a job. It's
yeah,
pretty
agreed.
short. So that bootcamp is very much an introduction, right? It's not preparing you to overcome, any imposter syndrome and things like that, because you realize how much you don't know at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good introduction, but that's not going to give you everything you need to actually get a job. All right. So, and last question for you, Clint, on your first foray into coding. You mentioned you started it with your brother. Now, of course, the question is, did your brother complete as well, or
Yep.
did?
Yeah.
Oh,
He
cool. So
finished
you
it
both
same
finished.
time as I did. We
Nice.
actually we started the fundamentals at a different time,
Yeah.
and then we ended up starting the back end at the exact same time. Terence was both of our teachers,
Oh, cool.
and then we just finished it out. Yeah.
Nice. So you were able to actually stay in the same class together
Yep.
and progress together. That's
Yep.
brilliant when you can do that.
Yeah.
All
It
right.
was
So
awesome.
yeah. So Terence, let's go back to you now. You so you had first terrible experience with coding. You overcame that. Um, but I mean, from the sound of it, it feels like it went very fast for you, right? I mean, you did 3 months with Revature.
Mhm.
But then I look at your LinkedIn, like how can you tell us what did you do to really be so efficient, I will say, at getting your name out there, getting jobs? You talked, I mean, you mentioned you studied as a freelance. How did you do that? And then how did you get your first, I will say, full-time position? And what was, I mean, it really feels like you've cruised through that, when other folks we talk about, struggling for 6 months, struggling for a year. It doesn't feel like that to you, for you at all.
Absolutely, and and I would second that. I agree. It went really really quickly, and one thing I can say is that I was just very hungry,
Yeah.
and I feel like one of the best things that happened for me at New Camp was my mentor, or rather my instructor for my very first boot camp. He basically gave me the formula to get a job. He basically told me, if you build your
Yeah.
projects, put them all into GitHub, don't delete them. He told me to go to coding meetups and talk to people.
Yeah.
He told me to make the connections and learn Git. Learn. He told me the technologies. He said, this is what your interview is going to be like. This is how they're going to interview you. He gave me that, and I really took that in. And so it was the mentorship. And as a matter of fact, I have a each time I got a better position, I went back and thanked him. I said, "Hey, thank everything you said was true."
Yeah.
And I think there's this aspect where there's so many different routes you can go in coding. I don't think people really know that you can be a data engineer or a
Mhm.
front end developer or a back end developer or a cloud architecture specialist, or you can work with these technologies, Ruby, and so there's so many different paths you can go down. And at a certain point, I knew I wanted to be a data analyst and I wanted to be a data engineer. And I blocked out everything else. And I just said, this is what I'm going to do. And it was just in line with everything my mentors from New Camp had taught me. So I feel like that really put me on the fast track to really make
Uh,
more.
that's very helpful what you're saying here. So, because you're right, a lot of people don't realize how wide the industry is in terms of roles, right? The
Right.
first question they have often is, should I be front end, or should I be full stack, or should I be back end? What was, how did you actually come to that realization that you wanted to be a data analyst? What was it for you that made you say, okay, not front end, maybe a little bit of back end, you need some, but really, what made you say, okay, that's really data analytics that I want to do?
it was just so interesting, and you know, it really felt natural for me. I feel like I was playing toward my strengths, my natural strengths, and things that I liked. And I had a unique opportunity because I had through Reviture I was trained on Java, and I was
Yeah.
trained on, you know, mobile application and web application development. And I knew the way I was struggling with front end development and making things look pretty and making them look
Mhm.
accessible for the consumer. That was not my forte.
Yeah.
And it really felt like trying to put a square peg into a round hole, because I was like, okay, I'm going to be a front end developer like this guy. I'm going to be a front end developer, comparing myself to others. And then I realized, you know, something, I don't have to be a front end developer,
Yeah.
and I don't have to be a mobile developer either. I can be, I can use my strengths, which is analyzing things and quantifying things and making insights from things that aren't there. And that's what I should be doing. And
Yeah.
it's absolutely so.
Yeah. Sorry. That's a good point. It's kind of a by elimination. Right? You start with what you really don't like, and then you're not gonna end on what you like. This is great. Let me actually take a few more questions. Maybe you can help me as well. Igo is here. Hello, Igo. And then we have a question. I think this one I'm going to be able to answer. Oh, there's a ton of questions here. Um, from Dragon, currently looking for skills bridge opportunity and just requested info from your site a couple of days ago. What benefits, if any, does NewCamp offer skills bridge participants? Great question. We're seeing more and more active military or active military personnel looking into New Camp, part of the Skill Bridge program. And for those who don't know, Skill Bridge is a program that New Camp actually qualified about 3 to 4 months ago, actually, and that the military offers to pay the the member full pay while they attend the education company and or the coding bootcamp. And so New Camp is part of that. Typically, Dragon, what we're seeing is there's an extra step on your end to have that enrollment validated by your commanding officer. And so we're seeing people actually requesting from us to show documentation. Oftentimes, if you've already registered, your student contract actually will have all the information that you need to show. Uh, oh, and there's a there's a question here directly in private chat. Um, there's oh geez, hold on, Stephen. Stephen, I'll answer you. Stephen just joined, and he's asking me in private chat, and it's kind of very disrupting. Yeah, so you're probably going to have a conversation with your commanding officer, and yeah, and that's gonna be it. There's no additional benefits from a new camp side necessarily, but you have to actually validate that with your officer. All right, and actually I see Stephen and Juan. So we have another question here, and then we'll get back to you. So we have Juan Stamos here, who maybe was actually Steven that asked me. The July 4th bootcamp centers is 388 6 times, while the other are 5 payments. Is that an error? No, it's not an error. So the full stack bootcamp is 6 payments, 6 times 385, I think. The front end and the Python bootcamp is 388 5 times. And it's because they have different length. So the full stack is 22 weeks. The other ones are 16 and 17. So it's not an error. That's the right amount and the right number of payments. I hope that was helpful. And we'll get back to your other question, Juan. I just want to get back to Clint now. So Clint, you actually kind of told us that you got a job in the middle of your boot camp after starting, like 9 months, 9 months after starting really to look into coding and such. Can you tell us a little bit more about that position? What kind of position is it, and how did you do that? How did you find a job in the middle of your boot camp?
I guess I was just kind of I wasn't even like really actively looking. I
Wow.
just kind of found a job. I don't remember if it was LinkedIn or Indeed that it just really piqued my interest. So I looked deeper into it. it's a help desk engineer position. So basically, I can help people with anything from software to resetting passwords to hardware issues.
Gotcha.
And I actually find that a lot of fun. I usually excel at hardware stuff. It's the software that I've had to put time and effort really into learning solidly. And I guess uh, I went in there and I kind of I interviewed. I really liked my interviewer. I really liked basically everyone I met there. It seemed like a really nice company, and I knew that I didn't want to do um, factory labor type work for at least that much longer. And so I jumped on and I took the opportunity.
This is great, and congratulations for finding that next job and next step in your career. Now, let me kind of replay what I know a lot of people are thinking, which is, hey, Clint, you joined the coding bootcamp to code, right? We teach you, backend with Python, and you're taking a job that helps desk. Now, my point of view is there's no wrong jobs. Your first job is your first job. You want a first job to then move on to the next thing. But how do you think about it, right? You did enroll in backend, you learned Python, you learned SQL. How much do you use those skills, for example, actually, like in that job? Are you going to be able to use those skills? And how do you think about that position that you just had in terms of your longer term career plan, I will say?
As far as long term, I do think that this is it's a fantastic step. I mean, like initially, even they so far everyone has been extremely supportive, and they're all completely understanding of how careers can kind of change paths. And I guess my boss took me on with the understanding that I didn't know a ton. Like what I was learning wasn't necessarily completely related to what I would be doing on a day to day basis. I do a little bit of scripting, but also as far as um, continuing to learn and I guess putting what I have learned in New Camp to practice. I have a couple of automation ideas that
Yeah.
they are fully on board with. They want me to build those when I have the free time and when I can focus on it. And they uh, I guess they do see and understand the benefits of coding basic stuff, whether it's just automating installs or automating new hires, stuff like that. So
So I love that. And I think what you're describing is everything what I'm thinking of in terms of why people should take those jobs. And I was actually arguing recently that you want to take the worst, QA or help desk job that doesn't have any automation whatsoever. Like, because once you get in there and you have those skills, you can do exactly what you just described, which is pretty much save the day. you know you're going to say, hey, these are all the things I can do now and know how to do to improve the productivity, make it more efficient, make it more repeatable. And down the line, you have a fantastic story to share, right? You're not just going to talk about, hey, I was a help desk engineer. You're going to be able to say, hey, I took an organization that had no automation, high cost, and I was able to implement, that technology this way with that outcome. So I think this is brilliant the way you're thinking about it, and I really, really would encourage people to think about it this way. Like, in a sense, now that you have the skills, and that's kind of a little bit of an extreme position, but now that you have the skills, any job, almost any job, I'll say desk related job, right? Like white collar type of jobs, maybe. Any job you can actually transform, automate, make more efficient, right? And so don't just think, okay, it needs to have, the title software engineer at the top, or it needs to have the title web developer at the top. Any job for your first job can give you an opportunity to demonstrate what you can do. And so I would really encourage people to keep that in mind. I see a lot of people who actually get into the industry, but it's not 100% exactly what they want. and then they quit. I'm like, what? What did you just do? What did you just do? Don't do that. So anyway, sorry, that's my personal rant. Um, Let me take another question. I think that's related to what you shared with us, Terence, and how you were able to, network, how you were able to engage with others, and how that helped you. Code, actually, if you don't know or Finn, was on a podcast with Don the Developer recently and did an interview. So put himself out there as well. The question is, what are some good ways to find other people to connect with in person?
Absolutely. And I love that question. That's the right thing to be thinking. So you want to connect with people in person. You want to show those and build those soft skills. And literally, if you just go to Google and literally type in Python conference, right?
Yeah.
Or Power BI. So for example, probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago, there was PyCon. I think it was in Utah. So Python developers from all over the world came together for a conference specifically about coding in Python. Later this summer, I'm planning on going to the International Machine Learning Conference, and I'm going to meet a bunch of people I don't know up in Baltimore, and it's going to be kind of weird, but I mean, you're going to meet some people and make some connections and build those professional relationships. One of the best things that my mentor from New Camp ever gave to me was he told me to volunteer, to find a nonprofit organization and
Mhm.
volunteer and work for free. And that was one of the best things that I could have ever done because I made so many connections through that. And I got to actually work on a real project that was nonprofit, but I helped a nonprofit organization and I pushed up code to Git. I had people helping me, telling me, like, hey, you need to redo this part, or hey, this looks great. Can you do this? So you get a chance to really work in a team and make those connections. So that's my 2 cents. And I absolutely, that's a good question.
Yeah, no, that's a very good one. How about you? What would you say?
I guess I would iterate basically the same thing. I haven't taken too many opportunities to meet in person, but I have interacted with people, whether it's like through this class or my last one, connections on LinkedIn. I guess just kind of talking about their journey, whether it's through video chat or just messages, and I guess trying to like figure out what other people are doing, what other people are building, what they envision, what like kind of
Yeah, answer a
figuring
lot of
myself out
questions.
based on that stuff. So
Yeah, no, totally. I want to go back to something you've mentioned a few times, Terence, and it's the fact that you have a mentor. Because not everyone has a mentor, and not everyone thinks about reaching out and asking people to be their mentors. And you've really credited that mentor to really helping you. So, can you share with us your thought process? Why do you seek mentorship? How do you find them? What do you tell someone, and how do you ask them to become your mentor, and why should they care?
Absolutely. And it was it doesn't even have to be formal. You know something, if you talk to coders, if you talk to tech people, they love to talk tech. They
Yeah,
they just love to ramble and talk about technology. But the thing is, most of us are introverts or introverted, have that tendency. So you can't see a, for example, if you go to a regular meeting throughout the week or whatever, you don't see a person that's in tech. You can't just look at them and say, that guy's in technology, let me go ask him about C#. But if you if you rub elbows and just kind of bring it out of them, they will give you their right arm. I haven't met one developer yet who doesn't want to talk tech with you at all. And so
yeah,
now the mentor that I had for the very first time, he was through New Camp. So at first he was obligated to help me because obviously we're going through a teacher student kind of relationship. But after that, he continued to help and continued to help. And I would reach out to him with questions. What about an API? Why does object-oriented programming function in this way? Can you clear this up? And he would answer my questions and help me tremendously. Um, Another mentor of mine, I just kind of started talking tech, and slowly he told me, like, yeah, I work full time as a software developer. And he didn't tell me that the first time I met him, but after
right.
he saw that I was serious, he was like, okay, this guy's he actually wants to be a developer. And then it was kind of one of those things. It was real natural. Okay, and so I hope that helps.
Yeah, I know, definitely. I mean, you don't have to have 10 mentors. You don't have to, network like crazy. Just find one or two. And to your point, you don't have to start the conversation with saying, hey, can you be my mentor? Just have the conversation and then have another conversation and then have another conversation. and you kind of formalize that type of relationship, and you don't have to, you don't have to ask someone and then that person accepts. It just happens. It can be um, very fluid like that, I guess. All right, we have another question here, actually a few. Um, is this free or paid boot camp? It is a paid one, but it's one of the most affordable. Well, what would you say? What would you say, Clint, about the boot camp? Is it free or paid, and how affordable is it?
I mean, it is paid. I guess there were the questions earlier about how much it costs.
Yeah.
And I will say it is really affordable. And as far as trying to get scholarships and all of that, those are all very generous too.
Oh yeah,
So
did you get one, by the way? Did you get a
I
scholarship?
did not, but they look very generous. I
Yeah.
actually ended up just doing kind of a personal loan through my parents because
Okay.
they are kind of investing in my future, and then I'm going to pay them back. So that's kind of how
Okay.
I did it.
That's awesome. All right, let's look at another question here from JJ. I start the backend bootcamp on June 27th. Whoa, it's 1 month from now. Congratulations. Is this a realistic path to get that first job intake or somewhat related to it? Well, let's have both of you answer the question with your personal insights. Since you've had much experience with it. Let's start. Well, I guess let's start with you again, Clint, if you don't mind, since you just
Okay.
graduated or you just
Um.
completed. You're going to graduate on June 13th, I think.
Yeah. Yep. Correct. Yeah. Um. But yeah, I do think that the one class or the one course, it is a realistic path toward a job. It kind of depends on what you do behind the scenes a little more. I guess I was really inspired by Terence. He was always the type to grind. He kind of gave me um, that mindset of like the hours that you put in now. It may not feel like a lot, or it could feel like a ton, but it will matter at the end. So basically, you gotta put in the work, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Show up.
you can
Show
make it
up to
work.
the office
Exactly.
hours. Yeah. Get the best you can from your instructor and the time that they allocate for their students. I mean, it's true that I'm seeing uh, some students who really don't take full advantage of having an instructor, and that's too bad. Switch on your camera, engage verbally, visually, attend the office hours, engage with your peers. I'll say if you join the boot camp and you're planning to go through it just like you were taking a Udemy course and you were on your own,
Yeah.
that'll be a lot of waste of your time, waste of money. You can just do that for $10 on Udemy. You're joining the bootcamp because we add additional value, the value of a structure, the value of peers, classmates, people that can become your friends, the value of an instructor who's giving their time and expertise. So you have to grasp it. You have really to reach out for it and get it. Um, how about you, Terence? How would you answer that question? And then I'll just pause. Randy, I'm seeing you here. We're going to bring you onto the floor right after we finish this question, and we'll answer your question as well. So hold on tight, Randy.
Absolutely. And just to kind of follow up with what Clint was saying is that you have to work hard. And so I always tell my students this is that there's a reason why many of the software developers, they get into the industry and they're making over six figures or very these these higher wages. And it's not because software development is a walk in the park. You have to work really
Yeah.
hard. And and so I always say, and I think it's so Gigi. So I would just prepare yourself, just say to prepare yourself mentally because it's going to take a lot of work, and you're going to have to study 2 to 3 hours each day. You're going to have to study an hour a day, get some alone time and really focus in and separate yourself. Tell your family. I know new camp is really big on the time commitment. You got to tell your family, hey, I need to
Mhm.
study so I can make this transition or so I can learn this new skill, and be sincere about it and be serious about it, and hold yourself accountable. And just like just to follow up or to plus one what Ludo was saying is that we have developers or instructors here that have worked for Apple, worked for Microsoft.
Yeah.
I work for the government sector. We have some very talented instructors there, and they will help you, but you got to show up. You got to be there and be serious, and just really go all the way into it. Be determined, and nothing will be able to stop you. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Hey, Randy, I think you had a similar question, but we're gonna bring you on. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you all doing? Glad to be here. Glad to see everyone. Thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
good to be here. So, I know you posted a question as well on the chat, but go for it. I think you were wondering about the back end, and you had a question for Clint. So go
Yes,
for it.
I'm planning on taking it maybe in June 27th or the one that starts in August. So my question for Clint, uh, what did you like about the course? Do you feel like you learned from the course? And what would you recommend to brush up on prior to taking the course?
Um, as far as brushing up on, I can't recommend the fundamentals enough. That it definitely got you used to the IDE and all the essentials that you absolutely have to know how to use before you get really headlong into the back end. Um, but I mean, for me, I when I could, I always did and then redid the week's worth of class. If I felt like I wasn't getting it, or if I felt like when I got to the test I didn't understand something well enough, I would redo that section or the whole thing, and just kind of drive it home until I actually understood it. Because you can go through it and it feels easy, but you don't actually understand it at the end. That's when you need to kind of hold yourself accountable and go back and really understand what you're learning.
Okay,
So
great. Thank you.
yeah, so like he
Yeah,
said, take advantage of every minute. With the teacher, those 4 hours are very precious. If they do give extra time, that's all amazing extra time also. So
Great, thanks.
Randy, we'll see
And
you soon. I hope. Then in you
okay,
said
all right.
August.
Yes, I'm
good
thinking
luck.
about June 27th or either August.
Okay,
Trying to
cool.
practice. All
Yeah.
right, guys.
All
Thanks a
right.
lot.
Well,
Appreciate it.
take care and say hi on Slack if you join.
All right, we'll do. Thanks, guys.
Take
Appreciate
care.
it.
See ya.
Thank you.
All right. Another quick feedback from Finn. So there you go. See, I'm a mentor and I don't have to know it. I can just help. I can have a conversation, and that's totally fair thing. I'm glad we can help and we've been helpful. And it's great to see you out there as well. And again, I recommend everyone to see that video where you're following an interview, practice an interview. I will say for Fang, the list of which is Fang. Okay, so there's another question here, but I'll get to that afterwards. So, Terence, when you look at your profile, it's a very well crafted LinkedIn profile. I think for me, it really hits all the right notes in terms of what you would want to see on a profile for someone that you want to hire. Which again is not a mystery why you got so successful so far. Can you tell us a little bit about again your thought process in going from Revature, a boot camp, and then kind of you seem to have been very strategic in the skills that you've acquired, the certifications you've acquired. First, can you tell us which certifications you have, and how did you get to build, um, that profile of yours, and how did you think of all that?
Absolutely. And so, like many of the new camp students that are just now joining us, I would literally just look and see, what is the most, I would literally just type in Google, what is the most in demand certification for my field?
Yeah,
And that's literally how I found out. And I would see different blogs and different posts that say, AWS, get the AWS solutions architect. That's
yeah,
not a secret now. And here's the thing is I knew, so going back, I knew quite some time ago, a couple years ago, that I wanted to be a data analyst. I wanted to be in data analytics. That's something I was serious about, and so it was really easy to block out everything else that was front end, back end. Not to say that those aren't great careers; those are, but it wasn't for me. And so, as far as the certifications go, I knew I wanted to get into machine learning, more into data engineering, and I knew that the cloud technologies are what's in demand. I mean, if you're looking to now, I will also say I was coming from a business background. And so I knew I had to do something to differentiate myself, because people were going to see Walmart on my certification, and they're going to be like, this guy's not a software developer, and they would see my boot camp. But okay, but now I have professional certifications, and not just one, but I have quite a few of them that are just based on different technologies. So I want to just encourage you, if you're wondering what you can do to make yourself stand out from the crowd, have a strong portfolio. Don't, I see this all the time. Don't throw away your projects. Don't spend all that time building them, and then you come back and you don't even know how to start it. You don't even know how to do npm start anymore. That's Keep your projects in your portfolio, and get those certifications, especially if you're coming from a non-STEM background. And if I can, I'm just saying that because if you didn't get a degree in computer engineering, or architecture, or electrical engineering, or biology, or chemistry, those are really sciencey degrees, but
Mhm.
that can help with a engineering position. But I think the certifications can really help you differentiate yourself and really focus in on what career you want to go down as far as tech goes, and that's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
No, I think you're right, and it can really round the profile as well. And if you're graduating from a boot camp, or if you're self-taught and you're having challenges getting a job, I think adding a certification really doesn't hurt, and can really help you separate yourself from the rest of the crowd. Let's continue on the questions. Um, One here from Baseball, J Baseball 362. I know you've touched on this, but I found that supplementing my bootcamp with Udemy courses has really helped. Absolutely. Is this behavior encouraged? So here's the thing, right? Um, there's so much knowledge out there that no coding bootcamp is going to be able to distill it down to just what you need to know, because just what you need to know is huge, immense out there. And so it's not just Udemy courses. It's spending time on the web, reading the manuals, doing additional tutorials, um, kind of going on an errand as well, and suddenly getting into other stuff that's connected to what we're teaching, but not exactly. Uh, so you'll always, I mean, learning to code is supplementing. Let me put it this way: it's about going out there, finding the information, and then finding more information and going deeper and deeper or wider. And so absolutely, Udemy is actually great because you're going to find great content very cheap. If there's a concept you don't understand, I'll say look up for YouTube. There's great fundamentals video on YouTube, for example. Code Ninja actually has done some really cool videos on just JavaScript, for example. So yeah, absolutely, go for it. And actually, I don't know if we're pointing to Udemy courses. I don't think we are, but we are definitely pointing to additional articles, YouTube videos on our curriculum. Any one of you actually have had that? I mean, what does it mean to you to supplement your knowledge? And Clint, what did it mean to you to supplement your knowledge during the boot camp?
I mean, for me, like I kind of said, I went back through the curriculum. I did have several times where I did end up. I had time at work where I couldn't necessarily focus on trying to read anything. I couldn't like sit there and study, but I could listen to a podcast. I could uh, have a video, a YouTube video on basic how tos, and start at beginners, and kind of work my way up on kind of the knowledge chain of that specific thing whenever I was trying to better figure out. And I mean, it doesn't ever hurt because I mean, every coding boot camp is just a start.
Yeah.
It's a foundation. It's not going to be everything you need to know to do every job out there.
Yeah. It's a little bit more practical than computer science, but it's definitely not the end all be all. Um, and that's the concept of supplementing is for me quite interesting because you'll always supplement, and any coding bootcamp isn't really in a position to give all the knowledge that you need. That's always going to be supplement. We have Leo here, who's apparently a little bit stressed, or actually scared to death, apparently. Don't be, Leo. Um, we've been there, so, and you've heard maybe Terence talking about his very first time that he tried to learn. Oh, and Leo is with us. Leo just joined. Well, actually, let me bring you onto the floor, Leo. Are you ready? All right. Well, here's Leo and the
Hey,
question. Hey, how you doing?
what's up, guys? Thank you.
So
Can you guys hear me all right? I've never
very
done this before.
good.
So.
Yeah,
All right, perfect.
you have a nice mic, and yeah, you have a nice
Thank you.
setup as
Hey,
well.
guys. Nice to see you all.
So yeah, I mean, before I get actually to answer your question, tell us about your plans and what you're about to do.
Yeah, let me go ahead and I think I need to mute.
Oh yeah, you need to mute the other tab.
Hold on. I'm hearing a lot of echo. I'm trying to figure out how to fix it. Let me see here. Sorry, guys. Oh, that's right.
There's another tab.
That's right. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, it's okay, and we don't hear the echo ourselves, so
Okay, perfect.
you're good.
It worked. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, how do you go from? So I joined the boot camp, the new camp, right? I'm starting
Oh,
in
you have
June.
already.
I have joined it, and
Okay.
I joined the fundamentals. I have coded websites before, but I'm not an expert or anything. I know a little HTML and CSS. I knew enough just to get it, to get what I needed done.
Yeah.
And then I joined the front end that starts in August. So I guess my question is, how do you go from basically zero to first job, um, in an environment like this? By the way, I work part time, so I have time. I've been studying actually a lot. And this
Mhm.
is my first week. I've learned a lot of HTML and CSS already, coding a site right now, doing exercises and all of that. How do you go from zero to hero basically, in New Camp? What would you say is the way? Because I am definitely changing careers. This is it for me. Like, I don't want anything else. I want to be a programmer. I want to do it. How do you do that with New Camp?
Who wants to answer it first?
Go ahead, Terence.
Right on. Leo, I would just say just work hard, just grind. Let me ask you this: what position do you want to be in? Like, what I know you want to be a programmer, but is there a specific niche that you want to be in, or a specific field?
Yeah, so I would love to work for a tech company, something that's web based, like a SaaS or something,
Okay,
and be a front end. That's what
something.
really calls my attention, is being a front end.
Gotcha. Okay, most definitely. And here's the thing: is that New Camp has a great front end development course, and I just want to tell you that you can do it. Just get ready to put in the work. 2 to 3 hours each day of study, and at least 20 hours a week of just studying. Because you said you're working part time right now.
Yes.
If you put
That's
in
right.
the work, you got to put in the work. You got to put in the time. That's the number one thing. I think Clint reiterated that. Ludo's reiterating that, because
Mhm.
with programming, you got to really enjoy the journey, because it's not like you're going to finish the boot camp and then you wake up the next day and you're like a super 10 years of experience have passed by. Or you really want to enjoy
Right.
that journey, but put in the work, put in the time. Um, um, Clint, what do you think? If
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate, I 100% think that it really is about the grind. It's about trying to, I guess, figure out what kind of a pace works for you, and just embrace that, and dive in, wholeheartedly.
Mhm.
And I guess just kind of accept that in tech, whether it's hardware, IT, or software, with just how it is, you're constantly going to be learning new languages, new APIs, new whatever, new frameworks. So, yeah,
I'll
100%. Yeah,
I'll add,
even the most experienced are always
yeah,
learning.
I'll add some to that. I mean, for me, you're already sending all the right signals, I'll say. Like, you have already started to learn. You've already started not just learning, but you're actually building something right now. So
Mhm.
when you say you're a beginner, you're actually not a beginner.
Right.
I've seen beginner. You're not a beginner. You're actually starting to, you've learned HTML, you've learned CSS, you learned JavaScript. You're getting in there. You know what to expect in terms of what it is exactly that you're going to learn. You're also sending the right signal because you're here. There's
Mhm.
something about showing up, something about putting yourself out there, and you were not afraid to ask the question, join, be here with us, continue to do that. Seriously, like, attend the office hours, start to
Mhm.
network, start to, you're going to join the Slack, start to have the conversations on Slack. Make yourself known just by showing up, and contributing. That's a big deal because I'm actually quite confident you're going to get the skills. The next question is, are you going to get the job? And getting the job is putting yourself out there, networking, finding a mentor, like we talked about.
Right.
People need to notice you. And what you just did right now, you're being noticed. And so I'm looking forward to seeing you and seeing where you land. Seriously.
Thank you. I appreciate that, guys. That sounds great. I'm definitely a hard worker. I'm definitely putting in the time and everything. So I think it's going to be great. But I appreciate that. That gives me a lot of peace of mind.
All right. You're welcome. Take care, Leo.
Thank you, guys.
All right. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and there's more questions. I think we're going to be able to get through that. So, and you know what, Terence? I just realized you started with us as a student and then became an instructor. I completely missed that. But kudos. I mean, and I can tell. I was just looking at your LinkedIn, and you did the front end boot camp as a student, and you're like, not for me. That's so good. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I still got my certificates on the wall right here. So
yeah.
yeah.
I completely missed that at first, but that's okay. So Terence, where do you see yourself in a couple of years? And I'll ask the same question to you, Clint, and then we'll take a few questions.
Absolutely. And so I want to progress in data science and data engineering. I see myself further down the line utilizing machine learning in some capacity. And so I feel like that's where a lot of jobs are going. And just looking at the data, there's a lot of, I think there's
There
like,
you go. That's why you're a data analyst, right? Looking at the data. Yeah, that's the passion right here.
exactly. And technology is always evolving. It's always moving. It moves fast. So that's why I say you got to study 2 to 3 hours each day. But that's where I see. I just want to move more. I don't have to be in a senior level role. I really enjoy just working with data, and and that's what I'm zeroed in on that. I'm zeroed in on being a data engineer, data oriented worker. That's me. So.
Well, that's brilliant. I mean, having that level of clarity really helps you build everything you need to build in your experience, in your profile, in your skills to get there. And I mean, machine learning, AI, I mean, that's huge, right? That's super exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Have you started to look into, data models and open AI and that stuff?
Yes, I'm just now. So I went through the AWS machine learning certification.
Yeah.
It was an extremely difficult certification. I built several projects while going through that. So right now, what I'm doing is building different web scraping projects and machine learning projects, such as like recommender systems, using the convolutional neural networks, image recognition, making predictions, logistic regression, linear regression, all the different models. And I'm trying to just get because I tell my students to study 2 to 3 hours each day. I do the same, right? I'm always saying that, and then I try and do it myself. And you got to always be learning. And I just hope that puts me in a good position in the future. If you work hard, it'll pay off. And that's just what I'm trying to do. So
that's brilliant. I love it. How about you, Clint? Where do you see yourself in a few years?
As far as me, I would like to. I'm a little more general. I would like to at least be in a full-time software development job. I think as far as kind of my more specific niche, it'll probably land somewhere in the automation area. I definitely I think of problems in how can you automate it type of sense. And spending almost 6 years in a production or on a production floor, I 100% have ran into opportunities where if you could automate it, you could free up that manpower to be working on something else and make whatever you're doing more efficient. Because my first job out of high school was actually at a pharmaceutical factory, and we could never keep up with demand. And if we could automate some of that, 100% people would be helped by that. So
That's brilliant. Automation is huge. My cat is acting again. He's in a different place right now. Hey, what's going on? All right. This is good. We have just 1 minute left. That was really brilliant. Just want to go through some of those questions real quick. What are the main IDEs used for, say, Mac and PC? I'll say Visual Studio Code. You can't really go wrong with it. Just use Visual Studio Code, pretty much. Although there's one specific to Python that's not too bad, right? What is it again? Do you remember the one?
I like Jupyter Notebook for Python, but
Oh,
that's
all right.
but that's data science stuff.
That's
Visual
right.
Studio
That's
Code
right.
is it's Visual Studio Code is good. It's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and okay, and J Baseball is starting. Oh, are you kidding?
That's
Nice.
awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, congrats.
Very
All
cool.
right then. Um, and Juan is saying that he's going to take full stack mobile development. How current is? Oh, that's a great question. It is extremely current. We just went through and just finished the upgrade to React 18 and hooks. So it took a while, but it is 100%. You couldn't make it more current than right now, actually. So you're joining at the right time, Juan. And Jerry is joining August 1st. Awesome. Atom is cool too. Yeah. All right. Hey, it was a real pleasure, Terence and Clint, to have you on the show. Really, really appreciate having you both and sharing your stories. Um, any parting words that you would like to share with everyone before we enjoy this long weekend? Parting words. No?
I guess I'll just say, find what you want to do and focus on that, and put in the time and effort that it takes to get you there.
Yeah.
So you'll get there.
I'll just say programming is really fun, a really awesome career, but you just gotta want to work. Just work hard, and everything will work itself out. And I'm trying to do the same thing too. So
All right.
let's do
Well,
that.
thank you both again. Thanks to everyone who joined.
Thank you.
We're going to have another show next Friday. In the meantime, if you're joining on Monday, say hi on Slack. Absolutely. We want to see that you were there. All
Yeah, I
right.
actually have
Take
a
care,
new
both.
class starting already.
Yeah. See ya.